Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show. So these candidates here are vying for your first preference vote in this upcoming Tauranga City Council's local body elections. But with every election, there's one thing standing in all candidates' ways, and that's your vote. Okay, good evening. We seem to be having a lot of fun there where our main camera feed has suddenly just disappeared, which is a lot of fun on there. Has camera one ended up coming back on the feed again? Yeah. I'm on feed. Oh, the camera's come back again. Okay, well, that was meant to be a new opening shot that does the whole audience, but it's kind of just went completely wrong. But hey, that's the joys of live broadcasting to sitting there going there. Now, let's get ready, and we'll start getting with the camera back onto the audience. And we got one candidate who's dropped his poster, so can it please go back up so we can do the big reveal? Okay, so let's go from my end. We'll start off one by one, drop off the candidate and say who you are. Let's kick off. You need your mic, otherwise those at home can't hear.
Josh Nagels.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Hi everybody, Shelley Archibald.
Hi everyone, Kev Schuler.
Kia ora, Bevan Rakoya.
Good evening, I'm Darren Gilchrist.
Kia ora everyone, I am Charlene Apapa.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Hodgson.
Good evening, I'm John Robson.
Okay, thank you for that, candidates, on getting our reveal of scenes there. And we do also have apologies. Now, where is it on there? It was Felicity. How do we say Felicity's last name? She had to give her apologies that she couldn't make it for tonight's show. Why have I completely lost all the graphics? Oh, they've come back. Okay, so let's kick off with Charlene, your opening statement of why the Bethlehem voters should give you their first preference vote.
Kia ora tātou Bethlehem Tauranga residents tonight. I'm excited to stand here before you as a candidate for the role of councillor in Tauranga. Born and raised in Tauranga, soon to be admitted as a lawyer, I will be your checks and balances in council. Additionally, I'm seeking arbitration and mediation accreditation, therefore solidifying my abilities to negotiate. When operating with others, I operate in a way in which I keep my mana and I keep your mana so that we can get to the specific tasks of keeping and pushing forward to address the issues in our city. I believe that effective governance is about making informed decisions that benefit the community because they are for the community. In these final weeks, I'll be walking door to door, asking you, are you enrolled? If not, how can I help you and what would you like for your town, for our town. My website is charleneapapa.co.nz. I'm also on TikTok. Furthermore to my campaign, it's called Unapologetic. I'm unapologetic to speak on the facts. My website has been called Hard Hitting. It's not personal. I'm here to inform Tauranga and Bethlehem why we need fresh faces. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Shelley. 1 minute opening statement. You do need your mic.
Growing and changing rapidly, Tauranga is a nationally important metro city, which has a significant port, and it also has increasing diversity and growing culturally. So I think we can all agree on that. Since I care really deeply about our city, I truly believe that all residents, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, or where you live, you deserve a high-performing council that can be trusted to exercise good governance, to address our current issues, and for future generations be future-ready. And our councillors need to be principled, they need to be smart, and they need to be team players, prepared to work really, really hard to achieving the wider vision for our community and our environment. Because that's how stuff gets done. And that is why I'm seeking this role, essentially, to do the people's work. We all deserve a city that we can be proud to call home. And because I'm just a tiny bit competitive, it would be pretty cool if we were the envy for the rest of the country as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And next up, Darren.
Good evening, I'm Darren Gilchrist, and I'm standing for council because I believe in Tauranga. Tauranga is an amazing place to live. I love living here, and I can't actually imagine living anywhere else. And we deserve better. We deserve a better council. We deserve better mayor. We deserve better councillors. We deserve better decisions. I'm standing on 3 principles: prudent spending. This current commissioners, they have spent too much money, they've committed to too much money. Some of the decisions have been absolutely shocking, and we need to restore democracy to Tauranga. I'm also standing for solutions. We need to be solutions focused. We need to have a group of people in council who are willing to work together for the best for Tauranga. And lastly, I'm standing for investment in core infrastructure. We need to focus on, the city is growing, and we need to focus on doing what is right to make sure that Tauranga is ready for the continuing influx of the people who start to realise that Tauranga is the best place to live in New Zealand.
Next up, Jerry.
Good evening, Jerry Hodgson. I'm an architect and an urban planner and a conservationist. I've already served 2 terms on Tauranga City Council, each of 3 years. I enjoyed the work. I was a good councillor. I achieved several major initiatives. I'm experienced. I ran a successful business here in Tauranga for many years, and now I'm retired. I have technical knowledge, and I have the time, and I have the energy. I got on well with council staff and will do so again. I want to be part of a successful, energetic council and to cooperate with technical staff to achieve success.
Okay, next up now, I just want to get it correct. It's Joss? Joss, yeah.
Joss Nagels. Yep. I've been resident here in Tauranga for the last 45 years. I worked for many years in the civil engineering department of the councils and Ministry of Works and consultancies, so I'm very familiar with infrastructure. My thing is not repeatership, leadership, not repeatership. What we're doing now is we're just repeating what's been going for the last 70 years, and it's not working. We're just setting ourselves up to be in a trap like Auckland has got, and we need to act now to change the way we think. And one of the main things is climate change, which is going to affect all of us. And we have to make the city resilient and also adaptable for future generations. Now, one of Tauranga's greatest emissions, 80%, is transport, and that really does need a review. Housing is also a big part of it, so we have to think of cities that are world-class examples and make Tauranga to lead a leading to follow.
Thank you. Next up, Bevan.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Bevan Rukoya. I'm from the Cook Islands, but born in Tauranga. Grew up just down the road at Juliet. Went to Mother College, had my intermediate, and and went on a bit of a career international. So look, I think in a few, not too long ago anyway. So I think the city's it's amazing. And I love Tauranga. I mean, I take the kids to hockey, take them to school, take them just and off to sort of Rotary and doing some other public events. But it's I do understand the issues that we have in our city, transportation, and especially through having a small business like that our family does. It's been really hard, and I think we will find a way to get through and mobilise the city. So thank you.
Okay, next up, John.
Hi, I'm a bit worried. I think I've come to the wrong meeting because I haven't heard anyone mention the ward of Bethlehem at all. And I understand this meeting is about the Bethlehem Ward. For the Bethlehem Ward, I've lived here for just over 20 years. I'm worried about Bethlehem for some of the same reasons I'm worried about Tauranga, but specifically Bethlehem. What's going to happen with Parau Farms over the next few years? What's going to happen with Ferncliff down the end of Cambridge Road? What's happening in Smiths? What's going to happen to the traffic on Moffat Road going past Bethlehem College? Why doesn't the Bethlehem Ward have the share of amenities that wards like Papamoa have? As a Bethlehem Ward representative, I will advocate for Bethlehem. Thank you.
Okay, and Kevin.
Kia ora, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kevin Schuler. I have lived here in Bethlehem for just over 20 years, raised 5 kids here with my wife, Michelle, and really love this place. I love being in Bethlehem and the greater city. I am here standing. I'm going to ask for your vote tonight. I really want to see Tauranga go forward. I'm a big believer in Tauranga progressing, Tauranga becoming one of the best small cities in the country, if not the best. And we need a new group, I believe, of people to take us forward. So I'm talking about 3 things from how I will talk to you. The first thing is about teamwork. I think the council needs to be a group of people that can work together, can collaborate, and can make decisions together for the best interests of Bethlehem and for Tauranga. I think that's critical. That hasn't been done in the past, and it's a critical step. The second thing is around trust, to make sure that we manage the growth of the city properly. I've been in business for 20 years. In a have to finish. I'm going to have to talk to you later about what I'm going to offer you, but thank you for your time.
I love that when we get to sit there and do it. Okay, now let's get around, and I want the camera on me, if that you can get that on there with the camera on the TV screen. The questions we think you'll be asking after watching tonight's show, let's bring them up on screen. Will we see a 4-lane car park in the place of a 4-lane motorway with a narrow 2-lane bridge at the end of it before leaving Tauranga? And will the Bethlehem suburb ever be a sister city with the actual Bethlehem where Jesus was born? And how many viewers will learn for the first time that Bethlehem is a suburb in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Because I do believe many people in our crew have actually learned that. So let's bring in Nick, who is going to be coming in tonight as our question host. And thank you so much for playing musical chairs on the job role.
Not a problem, Sam.
And I mean, looking forward to at some point soon, you're going to be sitting in this seat.
Well, with any luck, I'll be right there.
Sorry, things that happen when you're live on TV. Yeah, coughs happen. Okay, so here's this round here is where the candidates get to pick up box by box of what questions they want to do. Now, each candidate gets 1 minute to answer the questions. And for those who have been previous viewers of our show, each candidate gets 2 button questions. So if a candidate wants to issue a button question, they put their button card out, wait for the original candidate to finish their question, and then they also get 1 minute to do it. Limit to 2 buttons per question, otherwise we'll be here all night long. Going on that one. And also, if there is a very difficult question, there is a defer card, and they can defer it to another candidate that they may want to answer that question rather than them themselves. and they can sit there and do that. So so that's explaining for the general gist of how it's in the ballot works. So Nick, are all the question boxes sealed?
Yes, they are, Sam.
Okay, and we've got a random list order generator here, thanks to random.org to sit there and do it. Now, if you have any interesting questions and notice the Been Here logo in the background to see if it's in the ballot, should we just sit there and say, we've lost the it's in the ballot cards, but as the owner of Been Here Limited, we had some. So, you know, I think it's quite a good one considering it's paying the bills. So let's sit there and kick off. Jerry, you get to go first. What box number?
I would like box number 5.
X-ray.
Ah,
Do you support ratepayers paying for growth infrastructure?
Can you tell me what question number that is?
X.
X-ray.
If we're talking about infrastructure, and it depends. Water is in short supply in Tauranga. I believe it's always been a fail that Tauranga City Council has not been able to supply enough water each summer. So I think that some autonomous supply is warranted. In this case, we should be collecting rainwater from the roof of all houses where we can afford it if you have a garden that you need to water. The same with grey water. Grey water, it just goes to waste, but in fact it's absolutely chock full of nutrients. And if anyone knows about permaculture, they will know that grey water will be absorbed in the residential back garden. And the same with solar power. We don't seem to realise the value that the sun is offering us, so that water, drainage and electric power are resources that we could use and don't.
We have Button from John. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, the short answer is no. The current residential ratepayers shouldn't pay for growth infrastructure. It's one of the major problems the city's faced for years. Growth infrastructure has been paid for by the current residents instead of by the people that should be paying for it, primarily the property developers. And the way the funding of growth infrastructure has been happening over Tauranga for the last 20 years, the developers have probably benefited to the tune of something like $200 million that the residential ratepayers have been shortchanged over the last 20 years. So the short answer is no, growth should pay for growth. The developers should pay for the growth infrastructure and keep their hands out of the residential ratepayers' pockets. Thank you.
Okay, another Button. Oh, heck. You're going to be standing up very soon anyway.
Ratepayers would be happy to pay for growth infrastructure if we enabled residents to thrive on their own land. 160,000 people in Tauranga with 57,000 homes. They deserve the right to grow and expand and to thrive unto themselves. So if ratepayers were assured that, they would have no problem paying for growth infrastructure within and external to their own properties.
Nice, short, sharp and sweet. And Charlene, what box number? Oh, I know. You can thank Packaging Products in Lower Hutt for that, along with the boxes.
D. The most vibrant and successful cities on earth have grown societally and economically in part through abandoning concepts of homogeneous societies and embracing the diversity of our populations. Aotearoa, New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures, and social identities. How would you grow Tauranga through actively celebrating all peoples who call our city home?
D. D for Delta.
Supportive, active participation and self-education. Self-education will let you know that 74% are European. We've got about 21% who are Māori, Pacific Islanders 4%, Asian about 3.5, just below that. We have Middle Eastern, Latin American, African communities in New Zealand, and I had the pleasure of being brought up next to Zimbabwean families. We can't resonate with their diversity and their extremities of their life, but we can talk to our communities and get involved, and that's how we actively celebrate others.
Okay. Next up, Kevin. What box number?
Box number 24, please.
So box 24. And microphone.
AB, Alpha Bravo. What is your position on fluoridating Tauranga's water supply?
Personally, I think that we should do it. There's a lot of people in the community that dental health is a critical part of our overall well-being. And so if there are people out there that are not getting the dental health and the dental care that they need from an early stage,
Right.
having fluoridated water will at least give that chance for good teeth and a good opportunity for health for those people. I know there's medical studies, a lot of work would need to be done to understand it exactly, but my basic position, if we could fluoridate the water, we will be helping the health of our communities, and I think that's important.
Okay. Next up, John. What box number?
L for Lima. What is your strategic vision for Tauranga City? What will the city look like in 10 to 15 years' time?
Tauranga is growing at, I don't know, 1.5% a year, maybe a little bit more. So in 10 to 15 years' time, it's not going to look that much different to how it looks now. It's going to be a similar size, perhaps, to where Hamilton is, or a little bit bigger than where Hamilton is now. Personally, I quite like the Mount Maunganui candidate, Garth Matheson's view of Tauranga, which is of a city of interconnected villages, joined up villages. I think that's a far more forward-looking vision than the vision of some people who want to build some sort of 1960s version of a city, looking backwards instead of forwards, where you have a big CBD full of tall buildings, often owned by finance companies and insurance companies and banks, and then a decay curve out to barren suburbs. So interconnected villages, not much different to how it looks now, but affordable, environmentally and economically sustainable. Affordable being critical. Thank you.
And we've got a button from Jerry.
John,
Microphone.
or a vision of Tauranga. And my vision for Tauranga, say in 15 years' time, that we would be living in a better, a denser, a leafier, a beautifully designed city. This means replacing a lot of the existing stock that is ending its physical life, but the development of existing empty land within the city boundary, empty sections, paddocks, and even farms, into medium density, medium rise, good looking residential, often housing commercial, professional, and small retail activities. There will be less cars, there'll be more buses, and there'll be more bikes, and there'll be better tree planting as well. That's my vision.
Okay. Next up, Darren. What box number?
eeny, meeny, 7.
Oh, another prime number.
V for Victor. Do you support Tauranga City Council funding our economic development agency at a cost of around 2 million plus per year going forward?
Look, I'm really not sure about how that economic development agency actually supports Tauranga, and I'm really not sure that $2 million spent is a wise and prudent investment in that agency. So I would really struggle to justify that cost unless I could definitely see the benefits and how that is actually contributing to the growth and to the community of Tauranga.
Okay. Jaws, what box number? God, we definitely got an eager one for answers.
U for Unicorn. Do you support the planned 164% increase in rates over the next 10 years?
No, I don't support that huge increase. Increases will be necessary, but what the money is spent on has got to be long-term and benefit all the community, for everybody, not just the rich or the famous or the people who've got the big downtown $330 million spend up there. It's got to benefit everybody, and that will be in infrastructure, in housing densification, and it's got to be made affordable and doable. And it's been done in the past. We can do it again, and it's the future for the young people in Tauranga that we have to be concerned about, because it's the future of everybody, really, and it's got to be done in a sustainable way. There's many ideas I've got, which I haven't got time to explain at this short time, but I've got a whole plan mapped out, and also all the ideas how to fix things. It's the way of the future. I'm in touch with some of the world-renowned planners, so it's not pie in the sky ideas. These are real ideas which have improved.
Okay, Bevan, oh, we got a button from, yeah, that's fine, Shelley. Trying to remember the names. It's all right, I'm still going to be a blur at the end of it.
So I just have a slightly different view of the rates increases. And the reason I say that is because the 164%, they're scary numbers by any means, but it is accumulative over the 10-year period. And so just for example, to make it really, really simple, because numbers can be scary and very confusing and overwhelm people, you really need not the number, you need the content, you need the context as well. So for example, to make it simple, I took my rates bill and said, what if we do 10% in the next 12 months? What that extrapolated out to is 96 cents a day or a cup of coffee a week. What if it was 20%? Well, that's $13 a week. And what if it was 30, and so on? But at the same time, life's going on, like central government may be looking at supermarkets and actually trying to put some pressure on to say, get those costs down, because it's 4 years after COVID. Or putting pressure on the petrol companies to say, you put the rates up really high on gas, but you don't take them down just as quick. So there's lots of things going on in our lives that actually to that, and those rebates to help out if you're really struggling.
And thanks for actually putting that bit out. I remember asking, because I'm from Wellington City Councillors, half of them didn't know the rates rebate existed, which was quite disappointing considering if you lived in Levin, it was the talk of the town. Okay, Bevan, we finally got to you.
All good. Let's go number 70.
Oh, another prime number. You can tell numbers are one of my fortes. It's all right. My accountant does like me. I sit there and make things very easy on the books.
W.
So W for whiskey.
Do you support funding the Civic Center by the way of ratepayer levies and the sale of assets?
The Civic Centre. I think look, I think I've just got to put my Pacifica and migrant lens on this question. So just recently we've been very engaged with the Pacifica communities and trying to uplift them through language and culture and art and all this. And how do we celebrate that? You know, at the moment we're using these facilities like the Bethlehem Hall, like these the church venues, but the communities are growing so much that they need extra space. So I think community facilities is such a strong thing that we need to sort of focus on to uplift these communities to be able to share their families and their celebrations, their faith-based services here. So I think with these facilities that we have already, yeah, I mean, I'd like to sort of see that poured into the community facilities spaces and maybe look at sort of other areas of what we can do in the civic to celebrate those communities when they come together. But yes, I think they need to contribute in some ways to support that. But how else can we uplift the commercial spaces to help sort of fund those areas large stuff?
Okay, Shelley, what box number?
Right here.
We cannot guarantee that. I mean, Nick doesn't know what's in those boxes. I don't. I shouldn't. That's a conflict of interest.
O for Oscar.
Sorry, you'll get better at the phonetic alphabet.
I'll get there. What will you do to improve the relationship between the police and the young people in our community?
So I think any relationships have to be looked at in a few ways. And one of them is that if there are issues within that relationship, it's actually not a police problem. It's not a youth problem. It's an us problem because we're all responsible in Tauranga for law and order. We need to actually all step up and do something to assist. So the other thing I want to say is that for most youth, we need to have a better understanding. The frontal lobe isn't mature until 30. I know a few 80-year-olds or 60-year-olds who haven't grown up yet either. So we need to give them a little bit of break and space around understanding all of the things that contribute to why they do what they do to begin with. And we need to support our police as well. And we also could use community amenities and facilities better. We could hold a lot more like experts and have workshops. So it's about all of us contributing. We need to not just be concerned, we actually need to care, all of us together, and that's how we'll get some things, but it's going to take time.
And thank you, candidates. So we've got through our first round of questions. So new order list. This time, Darren, you get to go up first. What box number?
We'll go for 8.
F for Foxtrot. Do you wish to promote or delay public transport measures for Tauranga?
I'm originally from Wellington. Wellington has an excellent public transport system, and the reason why is that it is fit for purpose. There are trains, there are ride and goes, you can park your car, and everything is centred around the CBD. Tauranga needs a better public transport system. It is not fit for purpose. I don't know what would be fit for purpose, to be quite honest, but I know that what we have now isn't working. You see buses with 1, maybe 2 passengers, sometimes no passengers driving around, and you got to get, it's not an easy to use system. It needs to be convenient. If we want people to use public transport, it needs to be convenient. And at the moment, it doesn't tick the boxes, so we need to do something better for Tauranga.
And we have a button from Joss, and followed by Shelley.
Yes, well, Tauranga, the transport system here is based on 1960s ideas. I worked in the motorways investigation unit many years ago and looked at all these proposals for the motorways and that. And on the interchange on the wall was a big photo of the Los Angeles interchange. And I said to the boss at the time, I said, we don't need a monstrosity like that here in New Zealand. You need to double track the railway from Auckland to Wellington. Well, of course, it went down like a lead balloon, but the reality is they do need to do it. And we need to update our transport systems here in Tauranga properly to a 21st century technology. Electrified thing is possible. Tauranga is perfectly suited for light rail, buses, trains, and we should be taking advantage of that. It's amazing that we've just spending $1 billion on the Northern Interchange, and they've got $3 million budgeted for other transport needs, but not one mention of a train. And yet they're saying we've got the roads, they're going to planning years of start.
And while we're continuing on the buttons, Shelley.
Oh,
I'm very intrigued by this. I'm also a rail fan, so yeah, we're speaking the same language. As long as you can, if one of you has promised to reinvent the trolley buses working with the regional council, you will be my best friend, considering we know what Wellington did with theirs.
So I'm not here to disagree with anything that's been said. All I would like to add to that is we've got to look at our environment, because we need to have green spaces. And I think when I go and see my son in Melbourne, and it's so easy to use their public transport. And also you can go and have drinks and so on and not worry about having to drive home. But I just think we need to think about attracting visitors here as well and make this such a vibrant city that people want to come and hang out here and be in the CBD as well. And to do that, I think that's where public transport would be really cool.
Okay, next up, down to the other end of the table, John. And I just realised I forgot to buy my lotto tickets. That was something we were talking about earlier. I was thinking, I should buy lotto tickets. 40 would be a good number to come out. Oh no, it's bad luck that we've just gone through.
T for Tango. What will you do to help homeless youth in our community?
I think the first thing I'd do if I was mayor is probably phone central government and ask them what they're doing to help homeless youth in our community. Because I think one of the things we often see when we talk about councillors, we see scope creep and we see councils stepping in where central government has failed. And it's actually not our role to address that. But what we can do to help is reduce the cost of infrastructure or get more funding for infrastructure to reduce the cost of building in the city. But we have a situation already in New Zealand where Kāinga Ora, who are charged with providing social housing, can't afford to deliver social housing here in Tauranga. This is a central government issue. There's not much council can really do. And I tire of people taking on board issues that should be the responsibility of central government and loading them on local ratepayers who are struggling to live day to day. We've got to get the balance right here, and the balance is wrong. And that question reflects a lack of understanding. Thank you.
And I think there was a great part mentioning about what is known as unfunded mandates. As many of the questions that seem to have popped through there. Joz, you get to go up next. What box number?
19.
19. Is that another prime number? I think it is.
G for golf. Are you prepared to support unpopular but necessary levels of rate increases in order to ensure the financial viability of the council instead of voting for lower rates increases in the interest of your own re-election prospects at the expense of future councils being able to fund infrastructure maintenance and upgrades?
Yes, I would be prepared to support what is now appears unpopular, but in years to come, people will say, why did we wait so long? And the thing about funding those things is it's not a question of money, it's a question of accountability. The people who make the decisions should be accountable for the decisions they make that benefit the greater people, because we see so much waste going on in council funding and council policies and that. So, and again, I just draw it back to transport. That's one of the major factors that a growing city has, and it's also homeless. Homes are also a thing. So you've got to create accessibility and affordability for job opportunities, for employment opportunities, and for the greater, better future of the younger generation, because they are going to inherit a city and they don't want a city that's unsustainable and polluted and noisy and even dangerous with
And we've got a button from the name will skip. Get back to me soon. Kevin. Sorry. It's trying to remember all the names.
Yeah, look, I would support unpopular decisions as a council. If we have worked together collaboratively as a group and we're trying to grow our city, like I think we need to, and growing does come at a cost, but the growth is also designed to help people come here, bring in more ratepayers, and spread that load. We want to make the city, I want to see the city centre to be vibrant, to be humming, and we've got a whole lot of plans in place around the civic centre and improving our downtown to make the heart of the city beat, and there will be a cost to that, and sometimes we'll have to work together as a group to make those decisions that in the future we know we'll all benefit from and have an awesome city. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Bevan.
Let's go to the one next to John. What's that, 25?
AA. With a CBD that needs revitalizing and a housing crisis, supply and affordability wise, how are cost savings and rate changes going to contribute to this?
I think it's quite a tough one to answer this in a minute. You know, I think we all go through this with housing, and it's and the type of housing that's there, and how does that suit our retirees? How does it suit our labour mobility, our seasonal workers that come here? You know, how does it support the students? So it just needs a bit more sort of explanation from my point of view. So I'll be happy to sit down with any of you and share my experience about housing crisis. Thank you.
Okay, Charlene. What box number?
24.
E for Echo. International studies have shown that an active appreciation of a society's diversity boosts both positive well-being and economic growth. Some might argue Tauranga City has in the past overly represented a specific demographic. How would you ensure Tauranga City Council actively reflects our whole society?
By participating in local government elections.
Got that short, sharp and sweet. Jerry, what box number? Yep.
Number 13, available.
Another prime number.
C for Charlie. In recent years, violence directed towards Aotearoa, and in this case, Tauranga LGBTQAI community has increased.
Sure. Which candidate would you like to land that question on? Because that's your job.
You get to choose.
Just also let you know that was the way how the question was submitted by the member of the public. So who's
Okay,
getting
all right.
that question?
Is you? Yeah, C for Charlie. Okay. In recent years, I'll start again. In recent years, violence directed towards Aotearoa, and in this case, Tauranga LGBTQAI community has increased, most notably with the destruction of our community's Rainbow Youth Facility in an attack. How would you create a Tauranga that most actively promotes an appreciation of our diverse communities?
Like, I implore everyone to actively check on their own bias. I think bias is a natural thing for all of us, but I think it comes to a point where you come across situations in which you need to engage with other communities that are outside yourself. And I think if you've got that ability to do that, then we can embrace all diverse communities in Tauranga. Thank you.
Shelley. The expected number of questions candidates are going to answer tonight. If you think about 8 times 3. Remember what you did to the TV? There we are.
We have B for Bravo. Aotearoa, New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures, and social identities. Studies have shown that diverse and inclusive societies both increase well-being and economic growth. How would you actively improve Tauranga's sense and celebration of its diverse society?
And just to let you know, that has been a double up, as Stacey has just mentioned to me, but let's see what the answer is. It's appeared twice in the show. Yeah, you go ahead and answer it, but yeah, just to let you know, that question has already been asked, just so if people say, shall we choose another box? Let's choose another box. Yeah. Yeah. No, I just heard in my ear going, I think that question's been asked.
Careful, button.
That's not your fault. I think you and I are going to have to start looking at these question sheets when we get home.
I for Indigo. How will you ensure that public spaces and facilities are accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities?
I personally can't do anything about that at the moment, not unless you're with me. So I've had some experience in the with disability sector. I have a son who has a learning condition and he's 39, and so for 34 years it's been a real struggle. And like you mentioned too, we've got to get out of ourselves and think of our community as bigger than us. And otherness is being educated about what's important to people, and that's through community engagement. But our community has to have the willingness to actually embrace everyone, because people with disabilities are very special people. They are the people, we're human, and we need to get back in touch with that again. So there are a lot of things with public transport. If we had super cool public transport, that's also got to accommodate people who are in wheelchairs. We've got an ageing population here, and not all of them can run around Daisy Hardwick. So we really do need to think about everyone in the community all the time.
Use a button.
I don't know whether it's a button, but it's definitely just an add-on from what Shelley was saying. You know, when you work with young people with disabilities, or you have members of your family that have disabilities, please don't park in the parking spaces.
Oh,
You know,
that's a pet peeve of mine.
It's a pet peeve of mine as well. I mean, it takes, depending on how many young people with disabilities are in your vehicle, if you've got 5 people, like I've experienced in a workplace in Wellington, where they've got 4 seat belts on the bottom, 1 on their body, that's 5 seat belts. It takes about 15 minutes to get in and out. So look, if you want to ensure public spaces for disabled people, just ensure that those spaces are free for those whānau to use.
Yeah, just before we, oh, another button.
Yeah, so personal experience, and again, just an add-on. You don't create a disability park by taking a standard park and putting a yellow painting of a wheelchair symbol on it. I have a van at my house that has a lift designed to lift my son into the van. It extends out the side of the van 1.5 meters, and I need another 1.5 meters to get the wheelchair lined up to get on the lift and inside. So yes, if we're going to do disabled parking, can we design it so it can be used by people who have vehicles that are designed for disabled people? Because at the moment, we don't. Thank you.
Now, I just want to ask this here before we proceed. The current fine for parking the disabled car park is $150. It's been like that for a number of years. If elected to council, please raise your hand if you'd sit there and lobby central government to change the law to drastically jack up that fine to send a message. It is not appropriate to park in a disabled car park. Can we get a bunch of hands up, please? Candidates? Oh yes, police is one thing, but fine, so it's attractive to police as well. Because that's the other thing is, yeah, $150 is worth sending a parking warden, but if it was, say, $450, that's a bit bigger money coming in the pool for councils. Little crafty ways to bring in other revenue from rule breakers. I encourage that on bus lanes as well. Okay, Kevin, what box number?
Number 15 by the looks.
You're doing well. No one's actually guessed the number that's not been there. And considering I can barely, yeah, I can't read them from here. And I've got what do you call it? Clear for driving trucks without glasses.
Okay. N. Do you support the
And it's
revitalized?
in for November, just for those who are wondering.
Sorry, forgot the phonetic.
That's all right. Oh, and it can get mixed up with the in for Mike.
Do you support the revitalization of our city center or CBD?
Yes, I do. Just finding my notes. Right.
Sorry, time hasn't started yet.
Oh, now it starts. Good, thank you. I think I mentioned it before. I think a city needs a heart to beat. I think our central city has gone neglected for far too long, and there are some great initiatives in place now to improve and revitalise and make our heart of our city a destination where people want to go. And you make it a destination where people want to go. You bring activities, you bring events, and you bring energy into the city. I think it's a great thing. You'll also, with some of the plans of revitalisation of the city centre, to bring up some more intensive housing there, to bring more people, so there's less time in your cars to actually be there and enjoy that part of the city. I think it's a really, really good idea, and it can become a real thriving part of this awesome city. We've got some great suburbs which we want to keep and want them to grow as well, but a heart of a city is really important. I'd love to see the central CBD of Tauranga as good as anywhere in the country.
And we have a button from Joss.
Kim's right, the CBD should be revitalised, but not by putting $305 communist monoliths there. It really should be the centre of activity and people coming in from everywhere. And the way to do it, and to have the most busy and useful building in the city, would be to have a railway station with active railway working and light rail coming up Cameron Road. It would be a marvel. It would transform Tauranga. It would take Tauranga into the 20th century, 21st century. We can do it but we're prioritising funds on outmoded 1960s roads and motor highways, which will eventually bankrupt communities. We've got to think differently and to the future and to the future generations of the city who are going to be using these facilities. So first things first, access to the city, central city, and then you can have all your stadiums and everything, because people will be able to get there. At the moment, we've got bus congestion in the city, with buses just clogging up the central city. It's just...
Okay, we've got 5 minutes to a mid-time break, but I think we need another round of questions. So can we make these quick, fiery ones? Okay, Jules, you get to go up first. What box number?
12, is 12 still there?
No, still at the minute, but be quick and snappy. No filibustering.
S for September?
Yeah, that works.
Let's go with that. Sierra, thank you. How will you restore confidence with the ratepayers of this city?
First thing we've got to do, any council has got to be unified and have a direction in which to go, and furthermore, be accountable for decisions and the money that they spend. So far, I mean, we look at Cameron Road, $110 million, not a heck of a lot of change, not a whole lot of new lights, new asphalt, and new paths, and a cycle lane sort of thrown in as a compensatory measure. But most people I talk to, they can't see any different. They could have said, look, we could have left it very much as low and perhaps put a new pipes in. And now council are going to do a $200 million extension out on Cameron Road out past Greerton. And I think money is better spent in other things. $200 million on Cameron Road, it's okay how it is at the moment, and you've got to think of something better that's futuristic. Putting light rail up Cameron Road, that would go a long way, or even electrifying the route up there. We've got to think in those.
Okay, next up. Quick. Go ahead. It makes sense.
30 seconds, I hope. I think the ratepayers will accept change and will accept growth and will accept increased rates. But I think the key thing is a performing council that works well together. We're collaborative. We work as a team of 10. We bring all our diverse ideas to the table and we make the best decisions for the city. I think it's that simple. So rates are part of the equation, but a strongly functioning a council that's serving your interests is the way to go.
Okay, Jerry, what box number?
22.
Oh, that's a good date. My birthday lands on that day. No, but it's a good. It was the first thing that came to my mind.
H for hotel. Do you support the proposed CBD stadium?
What number? Card number?
H for hotel.
H for hotel.
I used to live in this area. No, I do not support a new stadium at this time. It would be too small. We're a growing city. We're a burgeoning city. We're going to be a huge city once. I would prefer, as an alternative, that we should look at Bay Park to improve that, to rebuild it, not to ignore it. I would like to see Bay Park. It's a pretty plain-looking building at the moment, but if its architecture could be improved, its facilities improved, its weatherproofing improved, it would be a far better option. The parking's there and the access to intercity is very good. Tauranga, Rotorua, Wakatani, and so on.
Okay, Bevan, what box number?
Kevel Bev.
Bev.
16, please.
I really like it how no one's picked a box number that's not there. I think this is a record.
P for Panda. Shortly, Tauranga City Councilors will be asked to approve a proposal for the installation of rainbow street art in the CBD. The aim for the project is to celebrate our rainbow community, acknowledge our wider diversity, and improve the vibrancy of our CBD. Would you vote in favor for the proposal? And if not, why not?
Okay. I think there might be a better way of celebrating the rainbow community, and I don't know if it's enough of sort of putting sort of rainbow colours on the street, but I certainly believe that if they had safer community facilities, that they are able to thrive as community leaders, and they can lead their communities. I think it's if we can find these safeguards for them to be able to enjoy that, then yes, I think we can celebrate it in many ways. And if it's a meaning of celebrating an arts sort of rainbow event in the CBD, then yeah, sure, I'd love to see them celebrate that. And it's probably a good thing for all of us to be able to go down there and engage with these communities and find out who their families are and what else and other needs do they have, and how can we support them, and what are those community facilities looking like.
Next up, John. What box number?
27.
Z for zebra. Are you able to pronounce Tauranga correctly? And are you familiar with the local iwi and hapu in our city?
Right. I'll give Tauranga a shot, and I just have. With regard to being familiar with local iwi and hapu in our city, not all of them, and not personally, but I'm aware that we have 17 iwi and hapu in Tauranga. I'm aware that we have 11 marae. And look, I'm going to open the question up because I've got an opportunity. It's my last chance. I'm actually against Māori wards because the diversity within the Māori community, I don't think can be represented by one person, one ward in a city this size. I'm in favour of going to what we used to have, was using the rangipu, getting all the representatives from all the hapu in a room and listening to it so you hear all the voices. I just sort of add that in. There's a bonus answer for you. Thank you.
I love that answer. Okay, Kevin.
21. Please.
The day that you find out the news.
J for Jaguar.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Given the well-established evidence globally and within New Zealand that congestion is increased when more and bigger roads are built, and also that congestion is bad for the economy, including wages, what policies would you support to improve the mobility of residents around Tauranga City?
I think there already are some initiatives in place in the plan moving forward to increase intensity in certain areas. Some I agree with, some I don't, but in general, the more intensive housing you have in an area, the less travelling there is in and around with full services and amenities for those. So that's one part of the answer. I think every city is very, very unique in its own areas, and Tauranga has its own geography that makes it quite unique in terms of our long isthmuses and long distance over to the mount. And so we need our roads to be functioning, we need our roads to work, and we'll have to make sure that the people can get to and from all those great areas of our city. So it's a combination, it's a multifaceted approach. I think we do need to work on intensification in the right areas. But remember, there are roads in our town that have got potholes that haven't been looked after. So we have to make sure we go about fixing up what we've got as well as improving the opportunities for transport right throughout the region.
Okay. Are you trying to use a button card? I don't know. Have you used two? Oh, well, then you can't. Okay, Charlene. What box number?
28.
A for Alpha. What political party are you linked to?
I'm not linked to a political party at the moment, but I'm absolutely 100% here for Māori wards, and I absolutely fully support them. What I heard over here was I don't know local hapu and I don't know local iwi, and I don't support Māori at the decision-making table. For the last 200 years, that's all we've had is one ethnicity at the decision-making table. We've got here questions about diversity. I'm absolutely in support of that, and that's my answer.
Okay, Darren. What box number? I don't think the tape was so strong after all. It might be easy to get it from the bottom. the Lee Tower boxes.
Yes. M for Mike. Do you support a museum for Tauranga City?
Museums are great places. I love museums. When I have travelled, I've always tried to go into at least one museum in any of the cities that I've been in. They're amazing. However, they're also expensive. And while I support a museum for Tauranga, absolutely, it would be great to have one. Now is not the time. We don't have the money, and we need to focus on prudent spending, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, before we start thinking about an extravagance of having a museum here.
And Shelley, what box number? At least it saves calling out a number that's not in there.
Q for Quebec. What qualifications do you hold that would qualify you for councillor, and what skills have you got that ensure you will perform well as a councillor?
Okay.
Thank you.
That is a good point, but what technically qualifies you is 2 nominators and $200. That's all that qualifies you legally. Yeah.
R for Romeo. Do you support the debt increase of around 1 billion today to 3 billion in the next 10 years?
So I'm just going to repeat, in my professional life, I worked for multi-billion-dollar companies, and I know again, and I've said it before, these numbers sound really, really scary, but that's actually what it's going to take to build a vibrant city that's economically strong, where the housing's good and our roads are good, and we've got a beautiful, vibrant city centre as well. It costs money, and there's no other way around it. At the same time, we've got to protect and enhance the environment. So all of these things come at a cost, and you get what you pay for. So my thing is, I think we need to invest, because there's been several years where there was underinvestment, and look where that got us. Because in the end, underinvestment costs us a lot more, but not for us, for our mokopuna. And we need to seriously think about that.
Thank you, candidates, for doing that, and thank you for getting through. Oh, we've got another button before. I wanted to call a break.
Yeah, I just want to have a word about that increase in debt. Now, debt has to be paid for. It's going to be paid for in higher rates. It's going to have to pay for the interest, and that is a massive increase in debt over a very short period of time. So we need to exhaust as many other avenues by prudent spending, focusing on what is core infrastructure and essential services, and leaving some of these vanity projects to the future. So we need to be careful how we spend our money, and I think that's what the people of Tauranga want. They want prudent spending. They want responsible council decisions.
Thank you for that. Okay, we will take a break now to give these candidates a bit of a rest, and we'll come back soon for hard-hitting questions. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to It's in the Ballot. We had some very constructive conversations amongst everyone in the room, and I'm very pleased with it. So let's kick on for hard-hitting questions. Stacey, the video. Okay, so hard-hitting questions are those questions that we get every candidate to answer. You cannot use your button cards, you cannot use your deferred cards because everyone's expected to sit there and answer it. And each candidate gets 1 minute to answer the question. So let's kick off with hard-hitting question number 1. Do you support the Tauranga City Council's long-term plan 2024 to 2034? And let's kick off with John, because you get to go first this time round, according to the random order sheet.
No, I don't. And when my website's launched next week, you'll see that the landing page starts with, I don't support this plan. Right. The Local Government Act is pretty simple. It's designed to allow democratic decision-making by the local community. Yeah. Our long-term plan, as gifted to us by this commission, right, does not have smart spending, it does not have fair funding, and it is not driven by democratic decision-making. It's a fail in all three of those respects. We're looking at the rates increases, that's already been discussed. We're looking at debt going from 1 billion just north of to 3 billion over 10 years. It is not sustainable. If we don't change it, people will be rated out of their homes. It must be paused. We must have a long-term plan amendment in, and we must have a council that's prepared to do that. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Bevan.
Look, I think it's I'm a first-time councillor, so but my sort of lens that I put on through my community services and just my career background that I have is that, I mean, it is an enormous vehicle to be able to sit in this room and sort of figure out how do we move forward, how do we mobilise ourselves, right? So I think with the long-term plan, 2024, 2034, I'd like to sit right next to it for the rest of the 4 years and just monitor the effects and the decisions that are made in this chamber that will have long downstream effects that could affect vulnerable communities. So that's my position in this. It's quite a bigger thing, but I do want to be able to engage with the Bethlehem Ward at first and come in and sort of talk and discuss and be open, transparent and accountable for the decisions that we make.
Okay, Kevin.
Firstly, I suppose I'd say that the commission didn't ask to come here, and they were appointed, and they inherited, some real challenges. And so the long-term plan, they've made decisions, and they've made some hard decisions, and some that aren't popular. But what they've done is they've given us a roadmap, and they've set some momentum in place for Tauranga to change and transform and grow. And you're going to see that in the city centre. You're seeing that with cranes in the city centre to revitalise. So not everything that's in there we will all agree with, but there's been a path set, which I think is a good thing that the commission has been able to do. It's a living document and a roadmap, and then we'll have the chance as a council, as we work through and consult with our community and find out what's best and deliver value for money to make the changes that we need to make Tauranga a better place. So maybe not perfect, but it's a start, and it's a good start, and I think we should follow it to get where we need to. We've got to address how we unlock land and housing to sort out 5,000 houses. We've got to get better amenities for our people. We've got to bring life back to the city centre, and I've got to sit down because my time's up.
Okay, next up, Shelley.
So So I too actually agree with the long-term plan, because part of the long-term plan, well, first of all, there was extensive community consultation, so people had their voices heard. Second, I believe that the city's strategic direction, which is part of the long-term plan, that's got 5 priorities that really float my boat. Enabling housing delivery, addressing transport issues, investing in a vibrant city centre, which we've talked about those things already, improving community facilities and amenities and how we use them going forward for our diverse, increasingly diverse cultures, and protecting, really important, protecting and enhancing our environment. Limited resource, and we've got to be wise when we use it. And there's 3 ways to do that: appropriate investment, fully committed council, and council working as a team with council staff, strategic partners, regional and central government. That's how stuff gets done.
Okay, next up, Charlene.
By John's words, the long-term plan is a gift from the Commission. So for Te Ao Māori, that is a treasure. So a treasure does change hands, and that means it can evolve. So for the long-term plan, I've had a look at it. The only discrepancy that I can see so far is the additional rates paid for new communities to enhance their surroundings, i.e. their harakeke. I want to see sunset clause on that. A sunset clause that says we won't pay too much rates all the time for additional support in its surrounding, what do you call it? Surrounding flora and fauna kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm conscious of that.
Okay, Jerry.
Yes, I do support the 10-year plan. I've actually read it. It's 400 pages long. It's detailed. It's beautifully structured. It's amazing. Every project that they've anticipated has been analysed and costed, and funding plans are put in place. It's too detailed, I think, but it is, I agree, a good roadmap. And the fundamental thing about it is, first of all, it's required by the government for every territorial authority to have a 10-year plan. But secondly, this has been subject to wide public consultation, and a lot of the public thoughts and opinions have been built into it, and I understand it's just been released again with all those modifications in. Of course, plans can change.
Your time has been used up.
Beg pardon?
You've used up your time. We've got a point of order from John.
Yeah, I raised this with Sam in a pre-meet, that if someone says something that isn't actually correct, we should have the right to call it out. The funding required by this long-term plan is not in place. There are 3 issues raised by the Audit Office, 3 significant risks with regard to funding in this long-term plan. The funding is not in place. Everyone needs to understand that. The funding isn't there. It's not in place. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to Darren. And thanks for that, John, as from your experience as a former councillor.
I've written a heap of consultation papers, and I've written a heap of submissions. And quite often when some party consults, they don't actually consult genuinely. And I think that's what's happened here with the long-term plan. It is not actually resulting from the submissions that were raised. It is not in the best interests of Tauranga City ratepayers and the community. This is a path to debt. It is a path to increased costs. It is a path to increased rates. It is not going to be a good outcome for our community if we go through this long-term plan. There are some good components, You know, so targeted rates on those who benefit most, you know, that's a good idea, you know. But selling assets, you know, so there's got to be a really good reason to sell assets. Are you going to get a better return from the investment that you make from the sales of those assets? And even the simple things like charging for the use of sports fields. You know, what do we want our children and our youth to do? Let's get them out involved.
And Joss.
In its present form, I don't support the long-term plan because it misses out a whole lot of things. It's actually, in most of its concepts, it's already out of date when you compare it to trends that should be happening in New Zealand, and they're not. I've been to 3 or 4 regional transport meetings right back from 2018, and it's really just like being in the 1960s. They're not progressive at all. They just repeat what's been done in the past. I've put submissions, 3 or 4 submissions into the long-term plan. It didn't change anything. It didn't even get a mention of what the long-term plan is almost corporately predetermined to benefit the big multinationals. And it's not there. It's 400 pages. It should be about 4 pages of bullet points, and then the detail comes after that. Yes, the long-term plan is, I agree with what John said, and it doesn't really specify where the funding is coming from to even support it. So it's a bit of a guess.
Okay, now let's get on to hard-hitting questions number 2. Yes or no, do you support the establishment of Māori wards, and why? Let's kick off with Charlene.
Aye. Why? Ake. Look, I support Māori in decision-making tables. It's simple.
Joss. You're up next.
Māori wards, it's quite a new thing, so we have to see how it goes, because the way it may happen, it may benefit, or they may, and as it's been said, there's 17 different hapu here, and they're not all going to agree. So we have to give it a go, but if it doesn't work out, then we have to go to plan B, which something will work out. It's quite new, so it's important to take notice of it, but it's got to be subject to the best fit in the community and the future of Tauranga, how things are going to work out for everybody, because we're all human beings, we're sharing this planet, we're all in this together.
Okay. Darren.
I support Māori being involved in consultation and decision-making. If that's through a Māori ward and that's the best way of doing it, then by all means. I have no objection whatsoever to Māori wards. However, is that the best way of getting full community consultation and involvement from Māori? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there is a better way. Maybe there is some way of actually working with all the hapu in the region, as opposed to just one representative who's been elected under the Māori ward.
John.
Oh, it's nice to get a second bite of this one. I think that's exactly where I sit. I think there is a better way of doing it than a single Māori ward. I come back to it. When I was first on council, 2013, I sat in a committee called the TCC-TWC, so the Tangata Whenua Collective and TCC. There were 6 councillors and 6 representatives of Tangata Whenua. We had good discussions, right? But what there was a diversity of opinion. And if you know the history of this city and you know the 3 primary iwi of this city, you will know they don't always agree. Ngāti Ranganui, Ngaitarangi, Ngāti Pūkenga, they're not always in the same place. You need to listen to all 3. And if you've only got one person representing Māori ward, I don't think you've got the necessary diversity of voices from the Te Ao Māori. Yeah, so there's a better way. Māori ward isn't it.
Shelley.
So I support the Māori ward because I think we've still got a long way to go, and I think this is sort of part of that journey. So for me, just on the legal side, Māori wards are one avenue through which councils can uphold their responsibilities, statutory obligations under Te Tiriti o Waitangi to include Māori in decision making. But what I do have an issue with is people talking about Māori, about what Māori want or how Māori decide or how Māori can't agree. And I actually have an issue with that, because if we get out there and engage, I think the question is, what do you think about this? What do you want? That's really the voice at the table, not just having a seat at a table.
Okay, Kevin. Yes. No, that's the next one.
Look, I'm not Māori, and for me, I'm not sure what right I have to say what is of significance to Māori or what isn't. And really, I'd like to consult and ask and find out from the Māori, the iwi, the hapu of this area, how they think the Te Awanui ward is going to benefit them and their people and their voice. I think that's an important question to ask. But I will say we've got a unique situation in Tauranga over the next 4 years, because we have the Te Awanui ward as part of the council. And so we all need to get to work together. We need to debate, share ideas, and that's natural as part of democracy, that we have opposing views and that we respect each other's views, and we work again for the best interests of the city. And so we have a unique situation, and I hope we take it by the horns and do the best we have with it, and we get the best results as a group of 10 for the community.
Okay, Bevan.
Look, I think it's an important seat to have, right? I mean, it's an important lens to have a clear understanding of this land that we borrow from our children, right? We have the capacity to be able to go out and fish, with the capacity to be able to go to schools, go to these sports and shared facilities, but let's put a cultural lens on that, and like, what can we do in our designs for community facilities, or what can we do in our language, and how do we get from Bethlehem to the Mount Maunganui? If we want to be able to engage internationally and to be able to share sort of Māori views of what we stand as New Zealand, and if we can support the Māori youth and try and enable them to know how to use these facilities, to know how to share their language, yeah, I mean, absolutely, it'll be a nice lens to have. I mean, I support John's idea about trying to uplift the youth in our communities. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a nice way to be innovative, be entrepreneur, look at what we can utilize on the land to drive economy. I'll speak more to it later. Thank you.
Okay, and Jerry.
I personally do not support the establishment of Maori wards. Most of the issues are about planning or finance and so on, but that's a personal view. What I would support would be, I think, a referendum to settle that matter. That's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you for that. Now let's get on to hard-hitting question number 3. How will you ensure the voices of young people who often are at work or school during public meetings have their voices heard in local government decisions? I haven't quite, now I'll just refresh the list. John, you get to go up first.
I think this question was answered quite well by Greg Brownless at a meeting we had, might have been at Welcome Bay Community Centre. I think a youth council is a good idea. And we used to have one, and now we don't have it anymore, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why the Commission didn't support a youth council. Perhaps someone could ask Anne, or maybe she's already in Sussex looking after her cottage. Well, maybe someone needs to email her. That's certainly one way of doing it. I think you've got to avoid being patronising. The other thing I think we need to do is we need to get into civics in schools. We need to start taking civics education to schools, because in my experience, most people don't understand the relationship that they have with local government, with regional government, and with central government. And because they don't understand that, some of them have expectations that are not met, they get disenchanted, and that's one of the reasons we have the voting turnout we have. We're going to struggle to get 50% in this election, and that's an indictment on everybody responsible for civics, from central government right down to local government. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Kevin.
I suppose if I'm involved in the council, really we are here for the future for the young people of Tauranga. What we do over the next 4-10 years is going to set up better lives for our kids. So that's a really important thing. I think for young children to be involved, I think education through school and getting them more interested in their local body politics and their environment and their community, ways that they can serve, and generally raising that awareness amongst younger people will help them want to be involved. And I think that's a big part of it. A lot of children, younger people, are at a different stage and age of their life. And so ways we can enable that. I think using the digital media and using other avenues as well to connect and give them opportunities if they're at work or at school, to connect to the meetings, to listen, to be part of it if they're interested, to help them choose the path of community service earlier and be part of the future leadership of the city. Thank you.
Jules.
Young people, they are at a stage of life where they're busy in a different sphere of their thinking. They're getting on with life, they're wondering what to do, and they're aware of the things that are happening in the community, but it's not their prime focus. But one thing that's they're very focused on and they're very worried about is how the future of the world and the livability of the world is going to affect the sustainability and the climate. I went on their big march, climate change march in 2019, when they went through the central city in CBD and they had a big rally, and I gave quite an address to them. So they are aware in that respect, and they expect us older people or seniors, senior to them, to think of them in our actions and decisions that cater for the future, because we were once young, and our people in front of us, they were wanting the world to be a better place for us, and now it's our turn. It's everybody's turn, everybody's responsibility to ensure that our future is sustainable.
Jerry.
I have been campaigning by doing a lot of door knocking, and so I've spoken to a lot of young people, and the impression I'm getting from those people that they're interested, they're aware, they want to vote, they're asking good questions. I'm not sure what the answer to this question is. People need to understand that young people are interested in local affairs as much as anyone. How will we ensure that the voices of young people have their voices heard? I think they're quite capable of earning that themselves.
Okay, Charlene.
One day we're going to have young people come into local government between the ages of 18 and above, and when they do, we support them and we wrap around them and we say thank you for participating. But that is going to happen, and I'm really glad that John said something that we agree on. I'm fully supportive for a youth committee at Tauranga City Council.
Okay, Darren.
Yeah, I agree with John and Charlene. I think we need more youth representation and some kind of avenue for youth to be able to actually communicate better with council. I've got 3 young adults, and one of them is actually interested vaguely in politics, and 2 couldn't care less. So we've got these young adults that are the youth of today. They're the adults. They're the future of our city. They're the future of our country. And we need to ensure that they have a vibrant, affordable, sustainable society, and we need to consider how what we do now is going to actually benefit them for the long term.
Okay, Shelley.
So it's kind of interesting because we go about youth, so they're a group over there, but we've actually got 6 generations now in our increasingly diverse society. We've now got Gen Alpha, who are probably about maybe 10 years old right now. So we all live in families, and some families actually have all 6 generations. The thing that's the through line in terms of all of the generations, they do want a deeper relationship with council. So how do you do that? The through line again is technology. So meeting each of those groups where they're at and whatever is comfortable for them. So most of the generations want something simple and easy, because I don't think any generation has actually said, yeah, give me the hardest way to contact you and I'll run with that. So every generation wants simple and easy engagement and ways to connect. And the other issue that I feel is if councillors could maybe do some mentoring program, because our council should represent how our society looks, and it would be great to have some younger people on council.
And Bevan.
Thank you. Look, I'm a sports manager of a hockey team. So I pick them up from school and take them from Bethlehem to Blake Park. We got to mentor the captains. So there's an idea out there of how can we enable captains, first captains, second captains, or even sports captains to be able to stand up in a camera setting like this, or be able to share their view of the game, to be able to speak on as a captain on behalf of a team, right? So how can we enable those type of opportunities for them? If the Rainbow community can be able to share that, to be able to understand with their communities. I mean, I'd like to see us sort of find ways of enabling training and governance. How can we get more voices to be able to understand what it means to be a board member or a president, or a secretary? So how can we establish that so they can learn? The volunteer sector is such a significant space. It's always difficult to try and find a succession plan and find leaders to come and step into that. So, I mean, youth can start in that position. So.
Thank you for that, and I certainly can definitely relate to that. As my first time voting in 2010, I knew the voting system STV, but I had no clue who the hell was the positions below the mayor. So I know exactly what it is about civics. We need to teach people more, and ironically, I'm now running a show that literally helps provide that information out there, including, how to do STV for voting. That's something I've been doing was at least 12 years now. So it's for me, it's second nature, but I do know different areas have different things going on there. So now let's get time for closing statements. Candidates get 1 minute for that. Charlene, you get to be first on that list.
Papa, not Zeta Papa. Anyway, that's all good. Vote for me, Bethlehem, because I've knocked on your door, because I've dropped off a pamphlet, and because you know what I'm about. It's a beautiful thing to actually sit here amongst people that love Bethlehem as much as I do. And I don't have to be at their back doorstep to actually love Bethlehem. We are an awesome place. And, vote for me, number 1. Come.
Okay, Bevan.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. It's a bit cold in here, but I think we had sort of greater facilities that we're always invested in, so we can do opportunities like that and share spaces like this together. I think we can do that more. Whether it's through a cultural lens, or whether it's through a sports club, or whether it's just for faith, to celebrate this hall as a church service. I mean, it's all great. So can we have more spaces like Bethlehem Hall that we can integrate into our schools? Can we integrate into the CBD experience? Can we integrate into other wards? Yeah, sure. I'd love to invite other wards to come and share this facility, and I think that's good. That's good for us. So we can share ideas, we can be innovative, we can talk about our issues, and then we can solve these long-term planning for our children together.
Shelley. Yeah, I know. It gets around here quite quick tonight.
So my professional life.
Microphone.
My professional life has been long and varied. For most of my career, I was a senior executive for multi-billion-dollar companies, and in one role had a portfolio of $500 million to manage. When I left corporate, so what does that mean? It means leadership and financial acumen. When I left corporate, I went back to university. I did a Bachelor of Social Science, and then I started a Master's. While I was there, I actually ended up tutoring, as well as was the first person appointed to do Māori student development. What does that mean? Well, it means that I can think. I've been a business owner. What does that mean? It means I get the challenges for business. And in the last 2 years, I did census field testing, managed teams for Census Live. I did the general elections out at Tupuna, and I also then decided to go and do secondary school supervision. So none of those roles I'd ever done before, so I'm up for the challenge of a new role. And probably because I'm going to be running out of time, I just want to say I've had a lot of awards, but that stuff means I've had the intellect and the capacity to do the councillor role to a high standard, and you deserve nothing less.
Okay, next up, Jos.
I've been a civil engineer for quite a lot of my career, but I was brought up on a farm, so I've got a broad spectrum of how society works in the country, in the cities, and in urban areas, suburban areas, and that. And with that experience, it gives you a very good basis of making judgments. And of course, life experiences count for a lot of that. One thing we've got to realise in Tauranga, one of the most expensive forms of human habitation is urban sprawl, and that is one thing we've got to fix. In a growing city, accommodation, housing and transportation are vital elements to make a city run smoothly and be attractive for people coming to the city. I have a vision, and it's not outrageous, it's been done in other places of the world which we can copy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's perfectly possible. We can do it. We must.
Okay, next up, Darren.
We've had the commissioners in charge for too long. We have the opportunity now to restore democracy to Tauranga and make a new start. We need a council that is solutions focused, that is willing to work together for the best outcomes for Tauranga. Please make sure you vote. Please make sure you vote wisely. Please use your 1, 2, 3, 4 ranking system for your single transferable vote. Just go out and vote. Vote for me. Vote 1 for me, vote 2 for me, vote 3 for me. I actually don't care, but please vote. And if you can vote for me, that would be just great. But I am solutions focused. I am committed to prudent financial management, and I'm committed to making infrastructure a positive outcome for Tauranga. A vote for me is a vote for positive change, a vote for a vibrant, affordable and sustainable city.
Jerry.
I thought there would be better questions tonight. I'm sorry. Questions about the 10,000 shortfall in the housing stock. Questions about the cost of compliance. Some compliance costs are very high. About pollution. And my solution of pollution is to plant 100,000 trees as carbon capture. About sea level change, about climate change. Nevertheless, I have enjoyed the session. Thanks very much. It's in the ballot. I congratulate you. Thanks very much. But I have enjoyed it. Civic matters to me are enjoyable. That is why I want to join this council. I want to be on this council. I enjoy it.
Okay, Kevin.
Firstly, like I said at the start, I've raised 5 children here with my wife Michelle, and we love the city. I really want to be part of shaping Tauranga's future. I want to be part of making this a city that my, excuse me, children want to come back to and live. And I'm a bit selfish. I don't want to go too far to raise my grandchildren. I want them to be here. I want this to be an awesome city that we're all really, really proud of. It's good. We can get better. My background, my life's been in sport, high performance sport. I want to contribute to a really functional, collaborative team environment that makes decisions and for the best of the city. We can't be plagued by the past. We can't have this indecisive group of people. We have to be a unified group. So the teamwork side for me is really, really critical. And I want to work my butt off for the people of Bethlehem, the people of Tauranga, to make this city better. It's really simple. And I want to use my business, my background in farming and business to really make sure that the decisions we do make are well considered and they make sense for us to grow this community smartly and in the right frame with the right use of our money. Thank you.
And John.
Yeah, thanks, Herb. I nearly got a full range of zeros. You're the only person that actually mentioned Bethlehem, just. I'm standing here to be a ward councillor for Bethlehem. So what I will do is I will advocate for Bethlehem. I've raised the issues already. We have issues about what's happening with intensification here. We have 3 significant blocks of land that plans are being made to put housing on, but I don't see commensurate investment being promised to the Bethlehem ward with regard to our roading systems. And I do think there's a legitimate question for the people of Bethlehem to ask council with regard to the level of, or the lack of amenity that there is here in Bethlehem. The first and foremost role we have as advocates, as Bethlehem Ward councillors, is to advocate for our ward. Above that, we have an obligation to make decisions in the best interest of the city, now and into the future. What I bring is experience and a skill set and a commitment to Bethlehem and our city. Thank you.
And just for those out there, STV is the single transferable vote. In order to be the final top winner on the last iteration, that candidate has to have at least 50% of the vote plus 1. Your second and third and fourth and fifth preferences are very important when it comes to voting, because that will shape who ends up becoming the top candidate. And that's the joys about single wards. Who's in the top role will have on the last iteration at least 50% of the vote plus 1. So thank you that, and thank you for all the candidates here tonight for being the first Tauranga City Councils. It's in the ballot show. It's quite a brave thing to sit there and do. And as I can see here, there are other candidates sitting in the audience, and I can tell you only 2 candidates who are standing in this local bodies have actually been on It's in the Ballot. So it's, you know, it's really good actually having that. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Can I also sit there and thank Ian, Ray, Nick, and Stacey for making the show happen both here in studio and remotely from Wellington. It's not easy doing that. And can I thank the audience for being a part of the show tonight, for being here. Thank you for giving us a full room. Feels like a full room, and met some brilliant people here. So it's definitely on that. We will be having, we've got free shows tomorrow, so this is going to be quite intriguing. We've got all at the Papamoa Community Centre. At 1 p.m. we'll have the Arataki Ward. At 4 p.m. Now, I stand to be corrected as Moa Mount Maunganui Ward. I might have that wrong, just because the first section I'm not exactly sure how it's meant to be said. And then for the third show at 7 p.m. we've got the Papamoa Ward, so it's going to be a interesting set of day going out tomorrow, but it'll be the first time we've done free shows in one day and trialing out the approach, but it's definitely worth it. And Yes, if you want to sit there and do it. Now, just a little bit of a note, it's in the Ballot Productions, is a unincorporated nonprofit, so every small dollar donation goes a long way. You can donate on our, you can join our Patreon on there. I think, Stacey, you can also flash up our bank account number down on the screen there if you want to sit there and donate there. There's also on Eventbrite, you can do the donation tickets. They can sit there and go for there. And for those who are in here, yeah, cash, or we do have the FBOS machine from being here as well here tonight, since I've got two of them. So one's come up on the road with me while the other one's back in Wellington trying to sit there and bring me in some sales. So thank you for that. And we will see everyone back here at 1 p.m. Well, not here, at Papamoa Community Centre at 1 p.m. And anyone who's here, well, come along and join in. It's a very good time being here. And I very much appreciated everyone coming here tonight. So thanks for watching for those who are online and those here in studio. You have a good evening.